Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Kuzma and Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and this is the return of a weekly feature that we had here, I think maybe since the podcast started with my cohort, not Brian E. Roach. This is the better cohort, the better co-pilot. I say Brian's my bombardier, my bombardier, bombardier. I don't know what a bombardier is. Maybe that's a kind of dog. We were just talking pets. Ms. Terry Fletcher. How you doing, Terry?
I'm good. I'm back from Hawaii business trip and pleasure trip, and back in California, and ready for season. We actually saw the first game of the season last Thursday at 2:30 in the afternoon because it's Hawaii time.
Yeah. Okay. And everyone, say goodbye to Terry Fletcher. This will be her last program ever. We're so jealous.
I know.
Yeah. Hawaii.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, no, don't apologize. I mean, that's pretty cool, and you get to go there on a whole business trip. But we have other business. I think we need to talk about the biggest thing from week 1 of the NFL, and it's not a tie. It has nothing to do with the 21-21 Steelers and Browns game. We'll get to that. It's Khalil Mack. Holy crap. John Gruden. You know what? I'm going to jump right to this Raiders. What was it? Raiders and Rams that were on Monday Night Football, and it just 33-13 Rams. John Gruden says something like they just didn't have an answer to stop the run or get enough pressure to the quarterback. No, you did have that, Chucky. You traded him to the Chicago Bears, and he landed this huge deal and looked like an absolute monster on Sunday Night Football with the Packers and Bears. Holy cow! What'd you think of this one?
Well, I couldn't believe it that, first of all, when I heard the trade, I was like, wait, that's the best player on the team. What is he thinking? And then, couldn't get it done. And then, he released Martavis Bryant, which we're thinking because of possible, drug suspension looming. And then today he was re-signed. And I was listening to NFL radio on my way to an appointment today. And I was just like, okay, everybody out there, Mike Garfalo, I think his name is, from the NFL Network, he's like, yeah, everybody's kind of wondering, what are you doing out there, John? You're there for 10 years now. What are you doing? So we're kind of trying to figure that out ourselves.
He's trying to rebuild a team that actually wasn't too bad and was a playoff team before he arrived and had some bad luck with an injured quarterback last season. I mean, Jack Del Rio, I think, got the raw deal. They're trying to pump this thing up for Las Vegas. And what they're really doing is they're going to turn them into the Chargers, where everybody shows up at the stadium and you actually hear the, that Arrowhead chant with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they, Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to talk about this more when we preview the Steelers' upcoming opponent here for the home opener this upcoming Sunday, which is the Chiefs. I mean, they put 38 points on a Chargers team that was supposed to have a pretty good defense, but they were missing some key parts due to injuries, and Phillip Rivers kind of tanked the team. And there were some, fortunate plays too. Tyreek Hill, there's a WTF for you. By the way, if anyone's wondering what WTF stands for, it's what, Terry Fletcher? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was your initials. I was looking for something clever there, but I think we all know.
Football.
Yeah, we know what the F kind of stands for, but it's a family show. So, yeah, Khalil Mack was the first one, and then the opener on Thursday, you had the Falcons and the Eagles, which was one half or maybe almost 3/4 of the most boring football game.
We just couldn't believe it.
Cow.
We came up from the lagoons. We were having Mai Tais. We were, we're at the Four Seasons, and we're like, oh my gosh, football's on. We got to get up there and everything. And for the first 3/4, we're like, we left our Mai Tais down at the pool and lagoons for this. I was like, this is just so boring. But the last quarter was better. I mean, you were wondering who was going to win. I don't think Nick Foles should have got the game ball. I think that, the defensive guy who made the last play should have. Was that Darby? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And it was just like, really? Nick Foles played like Nick Foles plays. I mean, he's respectable because he's got a good defense, so that was tough. But
And
But you were
Matt
talking about
Ryan.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, Matt
Oh,
Ryan
Matt Ryan.
plays pretty much
Oh.
like Matt Ryan. Somebody had this. It may have been why am I drawing a blank? The guy who doesn't like Mike Tomlin usually on Fox. Is it Colin Cowherd?
Colin Cowherd,
I think
yeah.
it may have been Colin Cowherd. Is Colin Cowherd on Fox? I don't even know. But anyways, I think it was Colin Cowherd that they pulled one season from Matt Ryan's statistics, and he was equal to Andy Dalton. I mean, how crazy is that?
Oh, he's you know what's interesting is I was looking at all of the different quarterbacks this weekend, and we could pick on Matt Ryan, we could pick on Ben, but we got to pick on everybody if we're going to pick on people. And these are major WTF quarterbacks, and they're paid very well. But I mean, Matthew Stafford, what an ugly game for the Lions he had. It was awful. Derek Carr had a terrible game. I mean, just some of these quarterbacks are just like, guys. What's going on? It was the rookies came out and did a great job.
Whoa,
but some
wait
of
a
these
minute.
other quarterbacks were not good.
I don't know. I mean, there's a dumpster fire that is the Buffalo Bills.
Well, he's not a rookie though. Remember,
well,
Peterman is
Nate
not
Peterman.
a rookie.
But Allen didn't necessarily have like the best of games either. I mean, he was.
Well, he wasn't supposed to come in.
No.
I mean, he came in because I think that coach's days are numbered. I mean, come on. What that guy played one game last year where they benched Tyrod Taylor and he got 5 interceptions in wasn't it like a quarter or the first half?
Yes,
or something?
no, it was the first half. That was against the Chargers too, and
Yeah.
and I mean you see what the Ravens did to him. Now Nate Peterman,
yeah.
I guess over 4 quarters or something of football has one of the the worst. He literally had a 0 rating.
Yeah.
5 of 18 for 24, 24 yards.
One of my friends actually picked him up in fantasy, and he had a negative 2.
Who would ever
And I was
do
like,
that?
why would you do that? He goes, well, I was trying to have faith in him, and I'm like, oh boy,
faith.
that's really I you know what? There are no gods telling you to pick that quarterback up.
That's some real blind faith, because I mean the Ravens end up 47-3. Buffalo might be the worst team. I mean, in a 32-team fantasy league, I still wouldn't have picked Nate Peterman. I would have picked somebody that was on the bench, even like Lamar Jackson, who actually came into this game. And I'm trying to see. He was 1 of 4 passing for 24 yards, still better than Nate Peterman. He had a 52.1.
Joe, I would have picked up Landry Jones, who doesn't have a job, because he would have had 0.
Well, you would have done better.
He would have had negative yardage.
Yeah, he still would have done better because he's the GOAT, of course.
Of course.
I was trying to find the turnovers in this game, just because it was
awful.
It was 6 sacks, not quite as many as the Steelers ended up with, and I'm trying to see how many turnovers. And for some reason, my eyes are going crisscross here, trying to look for it. There wasn't a safety. That's quite amazing. Let's see, four fumbles, the usual thing. There's a bunch of penalties. Ravens had 2 picks, 47 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes me throw up
But
in my mouth.
With everything that, and I know you and Brian have already ranted about this, but I haven't had a chance. I mean, just to go back to the Steelers game and the tie, that's 4 hours of our life we can't ever get back. I think
forever. It was 5 hours.
It was Didi Akikwala, I think, said it the best, and I've never actually seen a game put this way. Most teams, because I've seen a tie before. I think the Bengals had a tie with, was it Tampa Bay? They did.
Carolina about 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were both trying to win the game. Both of our teams were trying to lose the game. I mean, they were trying to lose, except, I mean, the offense anyway. The defense, I mean, they were doing their best. I don't put this on the defense like you had said in the quick after, but I mean, it was just so awful. I mean, just everything between the missed field goal and the missed punt. But the thing that really bugs me is that the refs were trying to help out with the loss. I mean, to miss that one helmet that obviously the punt where the ball trajectory actually changed. And I have a friend who he hates the Steelers. He's a total Chiefs fan. And he basically was like, yeah, I hate to give you that one, but you're right. That was so missed. And then to come out and say that the penalty, I guess it was roughing the passer against Ben, shouldn't have been called or whatever it was. And but not call themselves out on even the timeout they didn't give a penalty for, when that player was like, timeout, you don't have one. So then he flops and goes down, and then they give him one. It's like, wait a minute, where's the penalty? So
Yeah,
Those kinds of things were just what WTF for sure.
We did talk about that one, but we failed to talk about the punt, the whole punt thing. And I don't know, there was just a whole lot to talk about maybe, and that's the reason we overlooked it. But it was like the ball doesn't know. Now, I don't know how tall Nick Chubb is. Is he like 6 foot even, 5'10", whatever it is? The football doesn't
I think I
know.
saw 6'2". Yeah.
Even if he's like 6'2", whatever his height is, the football doesn't leap or bounce exactly 6'2" and then change a direction. No, it only goes up to 6 foot because it's only inflated to a certain, PSI, and then it'll change the direction. So it didn't hit. I could not figure out for the life of me how 8 of the officials are not looking at the most important thing on the field, the football. And then you see the reaction of all the players. They pretty much thought it was touched. Jabril Peppers thought that Chubb touched it. You look at their body language on the field, they're like, well, not really sure. We'll do this. And then you got the NFL. You know what the NFL has? They have microphones on people. They have cameras everywhere. They have NFL films. And to not have a camera angle that can show you anything, what are you talking about? There has to be like 1,000 cameras around there. There are people, and now there's people that probably have smartphones and maybe somebody else filmed this and you can't use that as part of the review. But I just think that the NFL, you don't have like the ability to see this, like the angle. It just seemed so convenient. And I have another one on that, but the people that are like freaking out too about this, and it's like, well, Mike Tomlin should be fired, never has his team prepared. Well, how does he prepare? Does he prepare to have Ben Roethlisberger throw like a handful of interceptions? Or here's the other one that always bothers me. And this bothered me with the Landry Jones deal and how people love Charlie Batch, and he has almost the same exact type of averages as Landry Jones had as a backup quarterback, but they hated Landry Jones. Well, this is the same thing. And Jim Wexell got to get the credit for this here because he's one of the Steelers beat writers, and he tweeted this, and I was thinking it, but I didn't put it to paper. So he put it out in a tweet, and he commented and said, if Stephen Ridley would have been put in that game and fumbled, everyone would have blamed Stephen Ridley. But because it was James Conner, Pittsburgh's beloved hero, who scored 2 touchdowns in the game, he overcame all these great things. All of that's awesome. But you know what? James Conner fumbled the football. It wasn't Mike Tomlin that did it. It just drives me nuts.
It does. And the thing I think that, because I got a lot of grief on Twitter when I went, oh no, he didn't fumble at that crucial time. And then Alejandro Villanueva got completely beat on the edge. I was like, oh, Big Al. And so that set up right away that touchdown. But I think that James did a great job, but he fumbled at the really bad time. It was a crucial fumble. And so I'm not taking away the fact that Ben did not have a good game at all, but some of a ball went through Jesse James' hands. Obviously, him and AB were not on the same page. I mean, I agree with you to a point as far as it's not Mike Tomlin. What I don't agree with on the Steelers organization, and they do it every year, and nothing's changed, and I think Brian and I are on the same page here. I don't think you agree, but Brian and I are, is that I don't believe that if you're going to have preseason games, and they are, because they're going to try to make money anytime they can, that you have to at least have your quarterback in there for a quarter with his starters. AB got nothing preseason. Obviously, we don't have Lev Bell, and so we don't have, that chemistry yet. And to just give a couple of series or a couple of snaps, you're not going to have that. And we've had how many ugly first games of the season now? And so you'd think that traditionally they would sit there and say, okay, well, history tells us this. We need to get the guys on the field at least for a game because the practice is not everything. So I think that for me, that's part of it. I'm always like, God, why is the first game of the season so ugly? And that to me is because they don't play in the preseason at all.
Yeah.
And other teams do.
That's precisely it. In fact, Bill Belichick is quoted as saying even the month of September is the new preseason because now you're just playing like the other 90 players and everybody's worried about losing your multi-million-dollar superstar, in August and not having them for the rest of the year. Well, these guys still get hurt even in September. I mean, you look, it kind of sucks, like Jeremy Hill out for the season, some others. He came to mind.
He out for the season?
Yeah.
I saw the Achilles. I didn't know if he tore it or not. That sucks.
Well, that came to mind just because, and just to mention that, Connor fumbles and literally the Browns get the ball on the 1 yard line. What do you do there?
Yep.
I mean, you can't do a whole lot. But this game, you're right. There was time we couldn't get back. I had the amount here. It was nearly 4 hours long. I think it was exactly 3 hours. And hold on, I have it here. 3 hours, 54 minutes, But that wasn't the one that was long. The Titans and the Dolphins went 7 hours and 8 minutes due to all of those lightning delays and whatnot. Yeah, the weather, the far camera angle was the only thing they had, and one that was like the ones that are fixed to the goalpost. And I have to credit Fox Sports here for at least making it look interesting for having one camera angle, which now if the ball hits somebody's helmet in this game, you got an excuse because everyone else is under cover so they don't get hit with a lightning bolt.
Right. Well, it was funny in that game. I mean, just to give you the time value on that. So we watched the Steeler game, go to the gym, go get groceries, and come back home, and it's still on. I mean, the game was never going to end. It was just a game that was never going to end. And we could not have had a more WTF first week than we did this season, I think. I mean, just because the good quarterbacks, or I should say the star quarterbacks, played terrible, and there was a lot of pick sixes. Some of the rookies that started, I mean, it looks like Kansas City found their quarterback of the future. I was really happy for Alex Smith on the Redskins. I mean, he did a great job. I don't know if you saw any of that game. I had the Red Zone on after. He just did a great job. I was surprised at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers came back out. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get probably some hate mail on this from Aaron Rodgers. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he is. That guy he's so accurate when he throws. But when he gets hurt, it usually means he's hurt and he's gone for however length of time. And so when I saw that his knee, I was like, oh no. And so what I'm thinking I might get hate mail on, because people are like, oh good, he's out, so now we're going to win. The game is better when he's playing. I don't like it when he's out for the season. I don't think that's great. I don't like it. So I was really happy to see him come back in, but I'd be surprised if he plays this week.
Yeah, that was wow. That was just crazy. Like, as soon as he got hit, it was like, what? I have a friend.
I held my breath.
Well, I have friends that are Packers fans, and one of them texts me with the exact words, "Season's over," with an apostrophe S. Season's over, which was just. I was dumbfounded by that, and I was nearly heartbroken. And even Chris Collinsworth, who, here's this guy. That's like that's like his catchphrase. Here's this guy that, the league would be a better place with Aaron Rodgers playing, and games would be more interesting, et cetera, et cetera. And I have to agree with them on that. Definitely.
Yeah.
So,
well, and he just got paid. Didn't he just get like $135 million paycheck?
Oh, yeah. He had like something like $70 million in guarantees or something just wild. So here's one you may have missed, though. There was a questionable play in the New England Patriots game. Shock.
Really?
Shock.
Now, I have to admit, I did not see any of the Patriots game.
Well, this is what happened was there's a pass, maybe questionable deep pass for 28 yards to Rob Gronkowski, which set forth. Now the Patriots got the ball, I want to say somewhere, a minute and 28 seconds left in the first half. And the second play was this deep pass to Gronkowski. And the people and since it's under 2 minutes, Bill O'Brien can't challenge it from the Texans head coach. And what happened was they interview referee Tony Corrente. Now, if he sounds familiar, he should. He's the guy who officiated the game between the Steelers and the Patriots and overturned the Jesse James touchdown, and then was blind and couldn't see Eli Rogers' jersey pulled out far enough to practically rip it off of him before that pick at the end of the game. So this is Tony Corrente once again, and they're asking him who's responsible for initiating the review, and he says it's New York, and the situation was that New York did get back to us. However, unfortunately, they didn't get to the game officials on the field until after play had already started. Now, once the next play starts, that's it. You can't go back and review anything. And so Al Riveron and these guys that are saying Ben Roethlisberger, well, you know what, that really shouldn't have been a penalty there, but make no comment on the Nick Chubb muffed punt, have no comment on this either, why they didn't review this fast enough. Okay, there's 16 games going on. that was probably a pretty important drive. There had to be games that were already at halftime. One of those games was in a complete weather delay. There wasn't even 16 games going on because you got 2 on Monday night. You got 1 on Sunday night. You got some in the afternoon. So what? Like maybe 6 games are going and maybe 2 of those are already at halftime or close, or maybe they're on a commercial break or nothing important's going on. How on earth do you miss this? You don't initiate the video review. And once again, the Patriots, they get away with one here because they drive down 19 seconds left and score a touchdown about 4 or 5 plays later.
It's just unbelievable. And everybody out there should know, if you don't know already, when a coach comments on a ref, they are subject to a fine. So when I heard that Tomlin commented on the referee saying, you're going to have to ask New York, everybody knew on the field, their guys did, our guys did. Everybody knew that punt with the hit the helmet. He's like, so we don't know what they were looking at. You'd have to ask New York. He probably will get a fine on that. But he never really says anything unless he is sure about what he's thinking.
Well, he's on the competition committee, too, and he helps create or generate some of these discussion on rules and rules changes.
Good.
And so he's very well versed with this. And, you know, if he has a discussion with one of the referees, they can't really say a whole lot next to him because he sits in these rooms with some of these important people and, you know, they draw up the catch rule and things like that. He's part of that competition committee. He's part of those rules committees. So
actually, did you see that thing, Joe? This was a huge WTF for me, but it was kind of a WTF throwback. So Gene Salvatore, who retired this year.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going.
So he
Steratore.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was ESPN or NFL Network or CBS, but he's now working for one of them. And he basically they talked about the Jesse James catch or no catch, and he went through it and said, you know, and he was very methodical and said, so last year the reason this wasn't a catch, blah blah blah, he didn't make himself a runner, he went down. And then he reached over, and even though he wasn't touched, he's like, but this year, yes, that would have been a catch. It just still made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. And I was like, oh, my God. You know, it just still was like, you guys still didn't get it right. He went down. He hit the ground, and nobody touched him. Then he reached over. It's
still ridiculous. Move. I don't need to rehash it. I know.
I'm just saying it was just like a throwback WTF.
Oh, yeah, definitely a throwback. It is in perpetuity. It is never going away. I may tweet that out right now.
It is never going away. But here's a good one. Here's a WTF that has nothing to do with the player, has to do with the coach. What about Bruce Arians in the booth? That guy's got a potty mouth. I don't think he knows how to keep it clean.
Yeah, we mentioned it.
Oh,
wide.
Did he really say that?
Wide ass open. I'll say it. We get away with that one. I think that one's a kind of an acceptable word to maybe say.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he's permitted to say that. And Trent Green is just so clueless. And
he's a moron. Yeah, he doesn't get it.
Well, we're talking about announcers, and I have to ask you from a female perspective, what do you think about Beth Mowins, who did the Jets and Lions game once again for the second year in a row? She usually does like a lot of college football games, and she got to comment, or she was the play-by-play once again for Monday Night Football. She did one last year, and I thought it was like nails on a chalkboard.
It is. It's nails on a chalkboard. I hate it, and I can say it because I'm female. I do not want to hear her in the booth. I'd like to hear, what's her name? Ambotheo Harris. I don't like Lindsay Rhodes. I don't. And Lisa Salter's not bad, but I don't think she could do play-by-play. And so this is unfortunate because I'm not talking against women. I'm talking against the voice.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely it. And people are out of their minds. They're trying to defend it, and they're just like, "Well, you just hate females." No, there's plenty of other bad announcers. I just mentioned Trent Green. How much grief does Chris Collinsworth get each week? I mean,
right? And I like him. I'm probably the only one that likes him. I like him. So I know people don't.
Yeah, the men aren't immune from the criticism either. It's just a matter of, is Beth Mowins just there because she's a woman or whatever? And I mean, that's part of the assumption, obviously. And you know, I've watched college games.
She was terrible. I miss Tony Romo. I don't know what game he did.
He was on the second one, I believe.
Was
And there were
he? Oh,
like,
okay.
I forgot who else was in the booth with them. And they were tripping
Well,
over each other a little bit, but it was better. It's just weird watching the Raiders game where they're on like still the baseball infield with the dirt.
Yeah.
And there was a missed field goal there too. Zerline, who was the Pro Bowl kicker, well, he actually got hurt, so he didn't get to participate, but he was an all-pro. He had a heck of a year as they both specialists for the LA Rams. And I guess the coach had them practicing on a softball field at a local college, and they still missed it. But they were tripping over each other a little bit. But just to go back to Beth for 1 second, it's like, yeah, there's plenty of, I watch a lot of other sports where there's, female either commentary or play-by-play, whether it be soccer or even basketball. I mean, for years I listened to Hannah Storm, and it never once did I think,
love her. Yeah.
Well, never once did I think this is a woman or whatever.
No.
I was just, this is an annoying person. Like, it was driving me crazy. And they don't set Beth Mowins up with a strong color person that can help her out either. Last year was Rex Ryan. I forgot who it was on this game. And it's just dead air, which makes it even worse.
Somebody asked me, it was funny, during her broadcasting, somebody said, "Hey, is Melissa Etheridge up there doing football?" I'm like, "No, her name is Beth." I know. They're like, "No, her name is Beth." And they're like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "She's terrible." And they're like, "Oh, thank God for saying that, because she's not good." I'm like, "No, her voice is terrible. She's not good. I don't get it." So yeah, it was a problem. But at least they got rid of was it Sean McDonough? They used to do it with.
He wasn't necessarily I think Mike Tirico is a really good play-by-play guy.
I love Mike Tirico. Me too.
He might be one of the best. I mean, I think Al Michaels gets a little salty here or there. He's getting up there. He's been around for a while, and he's a little snarky at times, which I kind of enjoy the being candid. But you got to be a pro at times too, and just bite your lip.
He gets away with a lot. He
does. He does. Yeah. So here's a couple more. We were talking quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo throws 3 picks, but guess who doesn't throw any? I do believe any. Let me double check and make sure I got this right. Nope, he didn't throw a single interception, but threw 4 touchdowns and had a 156.2 QB rating. Darn near perfect. Ryan Fitzpatrick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh my God. Well, I thought you were going to say Blake Bortles, and I was just going to say it's time for me to go to bed. But yeah, I didn't think that was it. But yeah, I saw that Ryan Fitzpatrick he's actually the AFC player of the week.
Or the NFC Offensive Player of the Week.
Yeah, Offensive Player of the Week. Yeah, and I think did TJ Watt get AFC Defensive Player?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Absolutely.
Yes, he did. Oh, that was another thing. Did you see that Bud Dupree got basically mugged in our game?
Oh,
and they didn't even call it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that stuff
Is that a chop block? What is that?
Well, that was the peel back block, the one that Juju.
It looked like Juju did. Yeah, it looked the same as Juju.
Except
did.
Juju got flags, a fine, and a 1-game suspension because he taunted as well.
He taunted
to a guy that deserved it in Vontaze Burfict. You got this was what I believe his first name's Desmond Harrison. He was one of the worst rated players by Pro Football Focus, I believe, this week. He was an undrafted rookie starting at left tackle in place of the now retired and probably future first ballot Hall of Famer Joe Thomas with the Cleveland Browns. And he turned around and he's moving towards the opposite, goal line of where the play is playing, or where the play's going, and it's illegal. There's no doubt about it. And everybody missed that too. And it's just, there were some ticky-tack things called. There were things missed on both sides. I got called out on the officiating as being too much of a homer. I could be homerish at times. I just thought the officiating overall sucked because it was inconsistent.
The whole weekend.
Pretty much every game. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the thing that I think is going to be hard right now, especially for defensive players, and I think of Bud Dupree in this, the one thing about Bud, because I think he's not the best, but he's such a hard hitter. He's like the throwback James Harrison or, Mean Joe Green, whatever, those guys. He's just such this. Who is the backup quarterback in Florida that he
Matt
just
Moore.
took out?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy, he rocked him. I was surprised he lived to tell about it. But it was just like, I don't think that's going to be allowed anymore. You can't play football like that. We're playing flag football now with all the new rules.
Well, you're not allowed to go high. You're not allowed to go low. And if you go in the middle,
hit them with your body weight,
no body weight or the helmet. You can't do the crown of the helmet or.
So Bud's strength is how hard he hits, and you can't do that anymore. So I don't know what else he does except for
runs fast.
hard. Well, when he finally gets off, when he gets it going. But he's just got. I mean, when Tomlin said he thought that TJ and Bud Dupree were similar, I had to pull both of their stats and go, Coach, are you looking at the same game we were?
I am. They were. In fact, I'll tell you this.
No,
go back and
you
look.
had,
I'm going to disagree highly. This was something me and Brian talked about off the air. Bud Dupree literally pushed his man back into Tyrod Taylor, which forced Taylor into T.J. Watt for one of those sacks, of which T.J., you got to remember, everybody looks and says, oh, my God, he had 4. Well, he actually had 3.5. They adjusted it because Javon Hargrave kind of had it was kind of like a double team deal there. So they adjusted it to 3.5. One was one where he pushed Watt pushed Taylor out of bounds, and technically it's behind the line of scrimmage, so it goes in the book as a sack. Those are the things that you have to remember there. I thought Bud had a good game, but he should have also, because I know the haters are going to come, and they're definitely going to get you for that hot take about saying he's like a hitter like Mean Joe Green or James Harrison. I mean, he hits hard. But
look at this. But T.J. Watt had eight solo tackles. Bud Dupree had 4.
Yeah, but how many pass deflections did T.J. Watt have? And how many QB hits?
He only had so Bud Dupree had 2, but also T.J. Watt had a block kick, 4 sacks. Bud Dupree only had 1.
3.5. They adjusted that. 3.5.
Well, not on my fantasy. They didn't.
Oh, they're gonna have to. That's a stat correction. You have IDP players?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yep.
That's too
I'm
much.
Looking at it right now.
That is too much craziness. No, Watt had 3 QB hits. Actually, they adjusted it down to 3.0 here on the official NFL stats. I'm looking at it right now. I saw 3.5 earlier. They gave the full one to Javon Hargrave. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. But
be quiet. I want to keep my points.
I won't let anybody know. But no,
21.5 points on him.
Bud also had a forced fumble, so you got to put that in there. But the blocked field goal. Let's put it this way: the outside linebacker play, I think we could agree, is looking phenomenal right now. Now, a lot of people are going to say it's Cleveland Browns. I know their offensive line is junk. We'll see what they do with the Chiefs. They got some other games, obviously some challenges going forward. I don't think they get to the quarterback, 6-7 times or whatever it was in this game every single week, but it sure does look promising.
Yes. I think that I just hope week 2 is better football. I just thought that this week there was just a lot of bad football. It was a total WTF weekend. I mean, there was some good highlight. I think the highlights were good, but overall football was like, wow, this is how everybody's starting out. This is crazy.
Unless you're the Jets.
Well, the Jets, I couldn't believe the Jets. The Jets or the Chiefs. Well, now when we talk about the Chiefs coming up, I mean, I know you're going to talk about that in another platform, but I'm a little nervous. I mean, I know that somebody put out that when Ben's had a bad game like this, or he's thrown more than 3 picks, he comes back 5-0. Okay, but the last time we played the Chiefs, we pounded them with Lev Bell, and we don't have Le'Veon.
Yeah, so what?
Well,
you talk about identical stats. Go pull up D'Angelo Williams or James Conner from this past week. James Conner almost 200 all-purpose yards. I think a lot of it's that offensive line, and we'll be talking about that coming up. So I don't want to spoil it too much. But also,
I hope you're right.
But also, I think the Chargers, you want to talk about the WTF there, is just blah. They just completely they crapped the bed in that game, and it was, like I said, there are other fans, Kansas City fans invaded that place. It's a soccer stadium and holds like 30,000 people, and it was overwhelmingly noisy for LA to be able to do anything that they wanted there. Plus, Phillip Rivers was his old self. He threw a pick, and actually, Mahomes, believe it or not, I'm getting ahead of myself here. He had a couple that probably should have been picked off and weren't. And I do believe in that game too that Joey Bosa didn't play, which is a pretty big deal. That's like taking a J.J. Watt or somebody like that off of the field when it comes to the Chargers defense. So we will see. We'll see. I mean, they played Kansas City so many times. That's a WTF in and of itself. They're almost like a division opponent now.
They were, yeah. It'll be interesting. My friends actually went to that game and saw Tyreek Hill do his flip into the end zone. They were sitting right there in front of it. And he scored for fantasy like 45 points. Again, for the guy that I was playing against, yes. When you score 170 points in fantasy and still lose your fantasy because somebody else has Tyreek Hill, that super sucks. Yeah,
it does.
That's where I was. Yes.
It
Ben
does.
did not help me out, and neither did my kicker, which happened to be
Oh,
Boz.
yeah.
Yeah, Ben and Boz killed me. So
I ran into like Alvin Kamara and Tyreek Hill, so I don't want to hear it. I don't want
yeah,
to hear it this time. But
good.
on that note, Terry, it's great to have you back. Agree to disagree on the one thing and all the
Absolutely.
rest, and we'll be a little sharper next time and not talk over one another. But we got to get our points across. There were a couple games we didn't talk about, but you know what? We overwhelmingly got most of the WTFs in, I think.
I think so too.
Awesome. So don't panic, folks. It's 1 week of football, and everybody sucks pretty much. I mean, don't look too much into the Ravens putting 47-3 on the Bills. The Bills are terrible, and there's some other teams like the Colts where Frank Reich was like hired in like I don't know May, like whatever when what's his face from the Patriots, the offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels didn't leave, and so he's had like no time with this team. These guys don't even know what these teams are like because they don't even let them play in the preseason. So there's going to be adjustments. There's going to be other things that are going to change, and overwhelmingly, I was pleased. And you know who did play quite a bit in the preseason? The Steelers defense. A lot of the guys that were the starters. So I think that really showed there. I think a lot of guys got into that role. I think that's fairly promising. Maybe, I'm hoping that Sunday is better weather than what the people in Cleveland had. And by the way, for those of you watching on TV, you can't gauge necessarily just how bad that weather was. I didn't make it to the game up in Cleveland this past weekend, but my cousin was there, and he's just like, you don't see it on TV, but guys are slipping and falling all over the place. And, it was a quagmire, basically, was his comment on it. So you got to kind of take that into account because I was at a college football game on the night before, and I had him telling me the same thing via text. Hey, it doesn't look like it's too bad there. And I'm like, it is pouring here, but the cameras just didn't pick it up in the same light. So keep that in mind. It's very hard. You throw judgment on it. And there's a bunch of things that aren't going to happen again. You're not going to have Ben throw a bunch of picks. You're not going to have Chris Boswell miss a field goal. You're not going to hopefully have this type of weather. There's several things that are anomalies in this particular game. Antonio Brown targeted 16 times, I think, and only caught 9 of them. These things, I think they iron themselves out. As long as they get the penalties, sorted out, I think they'll be in a good spot.
I think so too. I think 116 yards and penalties definitely had everybody going, WTF. We didn't deserve to win that game. I hate to say we deserve to lose. I never will say that, but we definitely did deserve the win. So we didn't win, but we didn't lose.
I have a bonus WTF because I just thought about it. There was a different website, not Steel City Underground. I don't want to necessarily call anybody a competitor because a lot of us are within the same writing community, but I'm not familiar with the author of the article. I don't know if you read the one that I shared with everybody today about how Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, these guys, and Rooney's, and they're not doing enough with the football team. They can make changes now to make this a Super Bowl team, blah, blah, blah. Rescind the tag for Le'Veon Bell or trade Le'Veon Bell or whatever and take that cap money and then go get – and he started naming random players from other teams that are signed with other teams that he would trade
People
and
put
under this salary cap. Number one, you can't trade Le'Veon Bell. He's not unless he signs his franchise tag. And then why would these other teams all of a sudden trade these players that they have planned to have on their team during the year that, they may not have another replacement for? Here's an example. Kenny Golladay, a wide receiver from the Detroit Lions. He's basically their wide receiver 3. They have Marvin Jones Jr. and Golden Tate up there. And we'll just trade for Kenny Golladay. He's a second-year player. Why would the Lions necessarily want to trade a guy like that or a defensive player? Or naming all these things and you still have money under the cap and this and that. It's September. That ship has sailed. You cannot. It's trying to compare it to the Rams going out and getting Sue or trading for Cooks. Guess when that happened? That was back in the spring and the summer when the
off.
The off season. It's the Steelers could not do that. They're handcuffed. They figured Bell's going to sign this thing and they got to have cap money in order to pay them. What kind of free agents are out there? You know what kind of free agents are out there? The Sean Spence variety when Ryan Shazier got hurt last year. Trying to say, well, the Patriots just picked up Corey Coleman. Well, how'd that work? 2 of the worst teams in football, the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills, he couldn't even make their teams. And you're trying to say just because the Patriots picked him up, now all of a sudden he's going to be some type of superstar? He's a project if he even makes it that far. It's just the most asinine thing I have read in a very long time, and I read a lot of bad comments from various Yinzers and various people who think they have an opinion that matters. I know I think I have an opinion that matters too, but I think most people will resonate and side with me here that once you build your football team, this isn't another sport like baseball where you can go out, trade prospects. You got people in the farm system, or you trade cash or draft picks or what. It didn't even say what the compensation would have been for those trades. Just the fact that, well, here's 3 random players from other NFL teams that are under contract to those teams that the Steelers could trade for, not what they would trade for in order to get. And they would all fit underneath this fantasy money now that's available because they rescind the tag for Le'Veon Bell or whatever else. And if the Steelers don't do this, Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin and the Rooneys and everybody else, shame on them basically. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I would not. Well, the thing that people don't understand is that if they rescind the tag on Bell, he is going to get picked up somewhere. He's a good player. He's a great running back / wide receiver. And we don't want anybody else to have him right now. He needs to just sign his tag, and he's trying to save his body for his next team, which sucks. And I'm not happy with him at all, but they don't need to rescind the tag. Secretly, you're going to be mad and you're going to sign me off before I even get to say this. You'll probably edit it out. I would like to see us sign Des Bryant. You ready to go to bed now?
Oh,
for the
minimum.
I would love Des Bryant for the minimum.
You're gonna get everybody to shut it off.
I know.
There are people who've said they've listened to the show before they go to bed, so that's something that they would do. But Des Bryant is unnecessary. They have 6 wide receivers on the roster, and they really don't have a whole lot of money. And Des Bryant saying he's just waiting for the right opportunity. Somebody actually called him out on one of the shows, so that was. I think it was Skip Bayless, and he said, "Hey, I'm sitting on the couch because I know the right opportunity, and it hasn't presented itself yet. You think I'm just sitting here? I'm sitting here by choice," is what he said, something to that effect. And hey, God bless him. You know what? He's made a lot of money in the NFL, and if he doesn't play again, I don't know. Some guys, they're not happy with the way their career ends or whatever. He seems to be. I don't know. He might be in a place of content now. Someone that's in very much discontent is Le'Veon Bell, and there's rumors of all these other things that he's doing. Yes, he's a fantastic player, but I don't know how many teams actually have the salary cap money that the Steelers would be able to trade him anyway, because they have to be, and this is the thing, if he signs yesterday, we'll just say he signs yesterday, he's already under the tag, so you can trade him. The next team cannot sign him to a long-term deal either, because it's still under the franchise tag of which the negotiation for an extension passed on July 16th is gone.
I heard the Jets,
so it's not even a one-year rental.
I heard the Jets have like $91 million.
And they don't need them. They have
because
Isaiah
they didn't
Kroll and Bilal Powell.
They didn't take Kirk Cousins, so that's why they have a bunch of money.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
I just think it would be funny. I think it would be really humorous because how much they double team AB to watch them, and now they're really going after Juju as well. I think it would be funny to see AB, Juju Smith, and see Des Bryant out there, and see the defenses go, WTF? Who do we cover? I would love to see that just in at least one game.
You know what? You're going to see that, except his name isn't Des Bryant. It's going to be when James Washington gets on the field in about 2 or 3 games here, starts getting more snaps. It's going to blow your mind. And I like Ryan Switzer quite a bit too. I mean, I
do too. I actually like him too.
The whole offense, I'm not worried. You know who else is returning and full participant in practice is Vance McDonald, and I can't be any more excited. But we're up against it. I digress. It's about time we say WTF and sign off ourselves. So Terry, thanks for joining me.
Sounds great. Till next time. Thanks a lot, Joe.
Yep, not a problem. And folks, stick around. I'm going to try and get Brian on the horn here shortly, and we'll have our Kansas City Chiefs preview for the upcoming game this Sunday. Till next time, my name's Joe. Her name's Terry. Be safe, be good, and I'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.